Hey guys, it's Papa Nasty here, and today I'm doing a video about Lord of the Rings, Rise to War. I'm going to be specifically talking about my 2.0 season start guide. This is new for February. I did one previously in December, but I know more stuff now. Things have changed in the game and whatnot, so yeah. So I'm doing a new one. And I'll probably do a new one in a couple of months' time too. Anyway, so general tips. First off, plan which commanders and equipment you'll use before the season starts. If you equip your commanders with equipment while they're in Bag End, they will retain that equipment when the season starts. So don't be mucking around in your first 24 hours just, sorting out your inventory. Sort that out while you're in Bag End. It's your first 24 hours is an important time to really try and play the game, not muck around in your inventory. Next one, only build the buildings you need. Do not go building a level 15 stone producing whatever it is. That's a great, that's the sort of thing which might be great for the long term, but in the sort of short term, when we're just sort of starting in the first 24 hours, we have very limited resources, so don't waste them on things that are unnecessary. Next, you should never have full ability points, and you should never have full stamina. Because when you have full stamina, when you have full ability points, you are not regenerating ability points. You are not regenerating stamina. And that means that you are effectively losing stamina. You are effectively losing ability points. And that's just inefficient. So even like if you're going to sleep during the 24 hours, the first 24 hours, then make sure that sort of work out, okay, if you're going to sleep for 8 hours, then work out, how much, 8 hours, that's like, 160 stamina that you regenerate during that time. So burn your stamina down before you go to sleep, on sort of taking tiles or sweeping or whatever. And same with your ability points, go and burn it down so that when you wake up in 8 hours time, your ability points will be at say 19 out of 20 rather than having been at 20 for the past 2 or 3 hours. It's just more efficient. Next, with your commanders. Now in 2.0 you will initially start with just 2 formations, or technically actually I think even just 1, but you get the second one like straight away. Now you won't get your 4th formation until you get to barracks level 11, which is main hall 6. So save stamina on your best commanders until you get your 3rd or 4th formations. When I say save stamina, I mean like, just sort of, hit 1 tile per hour kind of thing. Don't burn them down sort of, don't burn them down to like 100 stamina remaining or something until you get to that 3rd or 4th formations, because that's when you'll be able to start taking some much sort of larger tiles. Also, use multiple commanders to spread the load of stamina usage. So if you've got 5, 6, 8 commanders, right, either cycle your commanders through your sort of team that you're using, or alternatively run multiple teams. It's the more that you've got, the more commanders, the more teams that you can run, the more efficiently you can use your stamina, the more tiles that you will end up with at the end of the first 24 hours, and the larger tiles that you'll be able to end up taking too. It's getting your economy up in the first 24 hours is really important, in particular as well because you're sort of competing with everybody around you. And so if you can grow quickly, then you will never have, or rarely have, sort of problems with finding the high level tiles that you need to continue growing. But if you grow slowly, if you don't use your stamina efficiently, if you don't grow your economy sort of well, then you'll end up sort of falling behind, and then you'll get into the situation where there's simply not enough tiles for you to actually take, and that's when things get a little bit tricky. Also, as well, use support commanders to assist your DD commanders. All right, so when you a lot of people sort of look and see, well, direct damage commanders, they're the ones who do the most damage, they're the ones that we want to use, and definitely. But if you can throw in some support commanders with them, then it just helps to share the load. And the support commanders can provide a lot of valuable assistance to you, whether through sort of mitigating damage or buffing your direct damage commanders' sort of stats and things, or whatever. There's a lot of use to be had from your support commanders, and most importantly, it helps with spreading the load of stamina usage. Equipment. Remember that equipment no longer needs familiarity. So you can use your best equipment on a single team and then just swap it between commanders, right? So instead of having 3 or 4 teams of guys using sort of average gears and lots of purples and things, you could just stack one team with your best gear, and then if your second team and your third team have the same general setup, like a physical direct damage, focus direct damage, and 2 support or something like that, then you can just move the equipment to the new team when you want to use the new team, and then your next team, your second team, will be using all golds or whatever, instead of having to just sort of use purples, and that'll allow them to take lower casualties when they're taking tiles, and to take higher level tiles as well. Next, with your troops. So attack and defense can be obtained from equipment. And generally, when you're just fighting against tiles, your attack and defense are going to be significantly higher than most of the enemies on tiles. Obviously, this doesn't apply to all players. There's some players are free to play and stuff, but generally speaking, for most players, you've got if you just run like 3, 4, 5 star purples, your attack and defense, if you're using good items, it will usually be really high compared to what the mobs on sort of tiles and things have. But your hit points and damage cannot be obtained from equipment. So this means that the troops that you use are really sort of defined by their hit points and their damage more than their attack and their defense. Okay, so when you want to find out, if a troop type is good, look at their hit points, look at their damage, and that's how you can sort of determine, is this good for dealing damage, or is this troop good for tanking, or is this trooper good for both? So those are the stats to sort of really look at. And when you find troops that you find are good, only build those troops. You don't need to build all these other troop buildings. That's just a waste of resources. So generally speaking, if you're starting as Virags, then Halberdiers, Dragoons, from those sort of those building lines. If you're starting as Angmar, then just get your crossbows and your raiders from those sort of troop lines. You don't necessarily need to go into other ones, or if you do go into another troop type, into another sort of quarter, then just aim for just that one particular unit that you think is really, really, really good, that you really, really want, rather than building ones that you don't need. But especially in this first 24 hours, just saving your resources is really important, and just being efficient with them. Because your training camps, getting up your training camps is so important. Your training camps and your main hall. So that's why you sort of don't want to spend too much resources on other things. Next, efficient stamina usage. In 2.0, you don't get discounted stamina in the first 24 hours. You do get a buff to your maximum stamina, right? So I think you get plus 200 maximum stamina. So you'll have like 400 maximum stamina instead of 200. But it's not discounted. So that maximum stamina sort of means that you can burn down your stamina bar a bit lower. So like if, for example, you were going to you're going to go to sleep, and then you're going to go to work, and obviously you're going to be away from from being able to actively play for quite a long time. Before you do, like say in the evening, you can absolutely smash out that larger stamina bar, and then just while you're sleeping or while you're at work, you can allow it to regenerate, so that then when you get back home from work, you're able to smash it out again. So utilize that. Be efficient. Don't let your stamina bar max out. You need to be efficient with your stamina use. Also as well, make sure that if you do need to path somewhere, don't use your main team for that. Go and get some crappy little, Shaku or something and get him to go and path somewhere on level 1 tiles for you. Burn his stamina instead of burning your main team stamina. Next, so spread the load with your attacks by cycling your commanders. Just cycle them through. If you've got one main sort of team that you're using, and you don't have too many, say you've only got 6 commanders that you actually want to use, then cycle those 6 commanders through your team. Don't always have the same, just 3 or 4 commanders. Cycle all of those 6 commanders through your team, so that way you can just sort of utilize their stamina to extend the life of your team's stamina. Or alternatively, you just have a weaker team that you use to take low level tiles. Right, so just get a weaker team, take low level tiles, and because you need to be constantly taking tiles, there's a lot of tiles that need to be taken. So you're going to need more than one team. Switch your good equipment to that lower level team. But you need to be running multiple teams. Save your stronger teams, your stronger commanders for the stronger tiles. Don't just burn it off. Farming out level 30 tiles or something. Save them for the stronger ones and use weaker commanders for those weaker tiles. With your ring point allocation, initially put your points into extract and extra tiles. Then when you get to, and with your extra points that you've got, just don't spend them. Right? So put it into extract just so that you can spend some ability points, and keep increasing your tile maximum, your maximum tile cap. But just any extra points, just leave them, let them accumulate, and then when you get to level 10, you can get gather, and then you can increase your max ability points. After which you can increase your resources, your resource generation, with sort of extra points that you've got. At level 30, the skills at level 30 they're different to what they used to be in 1.0, and what's best depends on your playstyle. Personally, I prefer powerful sweeping. That's my favourite, but there's ones there like for plus experience and things like that as well. So a lot depends on how you play as to which one suits you best. So with your weaker commanders, your best equipment can be temporarily swapped to make your weaker commanders stronger. Right? There's no you don't have to kill monsters or something before you get the full usage of the stats. You get the full stats straight away. So you can just shift all your awesome gold items onto, shift them from Lurtz straight away down to Agzog or to LOTR or something like that, and then you make them good. And one of the big things is that although some commanders like say Skullhelm or Sestro or they're really good at the sort of end game, when you're just leveling, Kamul is just as good as Sestro or Skullhelm, because Kamul has he's got 2 main abilities, right? And the reason why Sestro and Skullhelm are much stronger than Kamul is because they have 3 direct damage abilities, whereas Kamul only has 2. And so Kamul just sort of, once he gets to about level 40, he sort of caps out on how much damage he can do. Whereas the others can continue going on to high reputation levels, high levels, and their damage will continue to increase. But while you are leveling, a lot of the tier 2 commanders are really strong when you're leveling. So don't discount them. They are very good. Even if you don't necessarily have them at max reputation level. If you've just got them at R3, that's fine for a lot of them. Not all, but fine for most of them. Also start dropping your lowest tiles when you're 10 to 20 tiles away from your maximum. So remember, it takes 30 minutes to drop a tile. You don't want to cap out on your tiles and you go, oh cool, now let's do nothing for the next 30 minutes. Plan ahead, right? So start dropping that tile when you've got 10 or 20 spaces left. Just start dropping those low level tiles so that you can replace them with higher level tiles. If you can't upgrade your lowest level tiles because of sort of stamina, and you'll take too many casualties, like say when you've got everything is 90 plus, and you don't have your main team's out of stamina, then with your lower level teams, sweep for food, or sweep mobs for food and speed ups. Also, this is something which is really sort of useful to do in 2.0. I use this during the season that we've just had, and I managed to end up sort of ranked third in the first 24 hours, which is what I call going solo. Okay, when you're going solo, you attack tiles with just one unit on each commander, right? So one halberdier, or one crossbowman, or one whatever, right? One berserker, and then you rely on the fact that the commanders have their own hit points, and that direct damage commanders will do full damage even when they have no troops. Also, you rely on the fact that the commanders heal 90% faster in the first 24 hours for their if they're heavily wounded. So you can hit something and then just hit it again. This, by not using troops, or only using one of each troop, you are able to take significantly less casualties, and which means that you have more resources that you can use towards buildings. And so you're able to build up your strength, build up your training camps, build up your main hall much faster, build up, to get your tier 3 troops much faster, so that then you can take higher level tiles and just get stronger faster, because you're able to do it without losing troops. It will still cost you stamina to hit these tiles, and when you get to higher level tiles, you probably need to hit them a couple of times. You'll either need to hit them a couple of times, or you'll need to start using troops. Whether which you do is up to you. Here's an example just to sort of show you. I had to use Fell Beasts as it was the end of our season. I didn't have I only had Fell Beasts and Vanguard, but you see here, like I've only got 120 sort of hit points because I only had one Fell Beast on each of these. And I was able to take, I think it was a level 35 mob, just using my commanders with one Fell Beast each. Obviously these are much higher level commanders, but I included Gothmog there as well, just for I wanted to test and see how viable it would be to instead of using sort of just direct damage commanders and support commanders, how viable it would be to carry some siege commanders with me so that they could get leveled up, sort of early in the season. In the end, I decided it's probably not worth it's probably not worth it to carry a siege commander for the extra slot. But you can see that it works. So try it out. Try it out with your things, and there's different equipment combinations and things that will work better and worse. I've got a video about going solo. You can watch it at the end of this. I'll try and put it into the end page or whatever. Here's some suggested sort of teams that you can potentially use. Some different army setups. This was just me playing around with different ideas. So, sort of things like, going and putting in Black Serpent with, Shadow, Exoc, and LOTR. So then he's going to give them his sort of buff, or throwing in, like having like one team of just troop commanders who, because even if you're going solo, you want to have one team of troop commanders who are your backup, who are going to come in and, if you don't quite clear out the the tile, if you die on the tile, you can have the team of troop commanders come in and just clear it up. Because if you would only relied on direct damage commanders, you wouldn't be able to run as many teams. Which is why, as you sort of see here, I've got one or two support commanders with each of these teams. Right, so like here I've got 3 direct damage in the bottom left, with Sauron as support. Up here on the top right, I've got 3 direct damage with Black Serpent as support. And then down on the bottom right here, I've got 2 direct damage and then 2 support. With Undying, when he gets up a few levels, he'll be able to run it. He'll be able to run his direct damage as well. But at lower levels, his just running its support and having his evade is huge. Just like Glash's ability and Mouth of Sauron's ability, their R0 abilities are huge in in this sort of type of situation, because when you're going solo, your fights will generally only last maybe 4 or 5 rounds, if that. And so you're just sort of front loading your damage and trying to do as much damage as you can before you die. Hopefully you kill the tile before you die. But either way, it's something where you're not losing troops, and so you can afford to take risks when you're going solo. But there's another video for that, so watch the video for going solo. Anyway, I hope that this has been of some use to people. If there are any questions that you have, please ask me in the comments, and I will try to answer them. Oh, I should add too, I found out just a couple of days ago that there have been a few sort of changes, whereby now if you're going solo and you hit a crossing, right? If all of your troops die on the first mob, when you hit the second mob of the crossing, because you have no troops, you will actually gain no experience if you have no troops. So it makes going solo to farm crossings it's not very effective for farming experience. But also as well, apparently the 200 plus tiles are back to their regular strength. They were previously nerfed when 2.0 initially came out. So don't be surprised if you see some people trying to go for 200 tiles early and getting their asses handed to them. Okay, because they are not as easy as what they were over the past sort of 2 or 3 months. Anyway, I hope this video has been of some use. If you liked it, like it. If you want to see more content like this, then subscribe. Yeah, thanks all, and yeah, I'll catch you all later. See you.